Magnus Carlsen's disrespect or his deep understanding of chess by playing nonsense opening moves. In the last round of Title Tuesday, in the 11th of March 2025, he played against a young prodigy from India, Praggnanandhaa, and whoever wins this game wins the tournament. And Praggnanandhaa kicks off this game with the king's pawn move, best by test. But Magnus Carlsen responds with the worst by test, playing pawn to h6. It's clearly a very bad move in the opening. But why Magnus Carlsen plays such an idiotic move at this high level chess? You can write down your opinions in the comments. But Praggnanandhaa responds with pawn to h3. This is a game of nerves. I mean, he wants to say to Magnus Carlsen that I don't want to use your mistake in the opening. He says that, okay, I'm just going to play like you. I'm not caring about the openings. Knight f6, e5, and another very strange move, knight to h7. It's like a Aloha in defense, but he goes to knight h7. I mean, knight d5 exists here, but he goes to knight h7. What I understand about this Carlsen's behavior against so many players, in this Title Tuesday, in most of the games he played like this in the opening, in one game playing with f3 with the white pieces, playing knight h6, knight a6, these kind of moves. What I understand is that Magnus Carlsen, by these choices, he puts pressure on his opponents, because then they face psychological pressure to be able, they think that they must punish Magnus Carlsen because of his wrong moves. And in this case, in a Blitz game, it's very hard to prove such a thing, and they burn a lot of time, and after that Magnus Carlsen comes up on top. This is one reason. Another reason could be that Magnus Carlsen, with his very great understanding of chess, comes to the point that in such a very fast game of chess, very accurate opening moves does not matter so much, and what matters is your calculation, your tactical ability, and your whole understanding of chess. And he doesn't want to also reveal his opening preparations. He's not a great fan of opening preparation, and he tries to avoid any kind of opening. And another reasoning might be that Magnus Carlsen is tired of normal and typical chess positions, and he wants to play something like freestyle kind of chess, so he decides to play such a weird kind of openings. And after knight h7, okay, Pragg decides to play normal chess, knight f3. He cannot play like Carlsen. He cannot go to such a street fight like in this position. I don't know, after some moves he might consider, even if Carlsen was what he might he might consider knight to h2, d6 and d4. White is grabbing the center, controlling over the center. And now Carlsen plays g5. Another strange move. He wants to develop his bishop to g7, but what on earth this poor knight can do? I'm not sure. Magnus wants to put it on f8. I'm not sure. Knight to c3, bishop to g7. Let's see what's happening. It's very fascinating. Bishop d3 and knight to c6. He wants to put pressure on the center. He allows his opponents to create a big center, a very good center, but then he put pressure on it. And it's very hard to maintain this kind of pressure. But Pragg here plays e6, a very bold move. With this move, he wants to say to Magnus Carlsen that I'm coming to beat you at this game. Problem for Carlsen is that he cannot take it with the bishop, because bishop takes h7. Consider that the reason is not d5. Many of us might think that d5 is the reason, but d5 is not a good move, because bishop takes c3, bishop takes d5, and black is 2 pawns up. Guess what? If you take on h7, he just takes on f3, attacking the queen. And if you take back, rook takes h7, black is 2 pawns up. But what Pragg had in mind was that if bishop takes e6, first bishop takes h7, and after take back, now d5. Now if you take on c3, no problem, b takes c3, and the queen is guarding the bishop, the pawn, and the pawn is forking the bishop and the knight, and black will lose a piece here. So Pragg is a very, very creative player, so Magnus decides to just accept the challenge and take it with the f-pawn. Now comes a check on g6, a very, very strange chess position. Now king d7 is the best move, but Carlsen plays king to f8, which puts the king in a little bit of danger, but it's still not over for black. Here white plays queen d3, knight f6. Now the knight comes back to the game, bishop d2. I'm sure that such a position never happened at the chessboard, so it's what Magnus Carlsen wants. He accepts that he's worse, and he knows that right from the beginning of the game he plays these kind of openings because he knows that, okay, I'm just going to play a game of chess, and whatever happens, I'm going to play good moves, and then I'm going to win the game, even if my position is not good. Now Carlsen plays bishop d7, castle, and bishop e8. He knows chess. He knows that this bishop on g6 is very, very strong piece, and he should trade it. Bishop to e8. Bishop takes e8 was better, but rook d1, who cares? Now knight b4 was a very strong move, and it was missed by Magnus Carlsen. This position is so rich because this position has never happened. We have no similar position to this, and anything can happen. But even Magnus Carlsen, the best chess player in the world, can go wrong in these kind of positions. Knight b4, simply queen cannot protect the bishop anymore. Queen c4, and now we are going to take the pawn with check, and after queen takes a2, bishop takes g6. Black is completely better. Imagine this position, and black is completely better. Two bishops, and very soon black is probably going to attack the center. So Carlsen missed this option, but who cares? Bishop takes g6 takes, and queen e8. What he wants in many of these games, he wants to exchange queen and go to the ending. Ending is a safe place for Magnus Carlsen. He knows what to do in endgames, and he has a great understanding of them. So when he goes to the endings, he becomes a beast. Queen to d3, Pragg decides to not trade. Now queen f7 was better, but Carlsen goes backward, knight to d8. Very strange kind of moves, g4 and queen to f7. And here white plays king to b1. This move is completing the long side castle. Rook 8 g1 with the idea of h4 was better. White supposed to attack on the king side. And here king b1 gives Carlsen an option to think here, because I guess that when Pragg was deciding on king b1, he saw that there is rook g1, h4 and attacking on the king. And after king b1, Carlsen found a move that is very, very, very hard to find. It's the best move by engines, and I don't know how he comes to this move. I can speculate on how he reached this move, king e8, a great move, even by chess.com engine, because I guess it anticipates white's attack on the king side with rook g1, h4, and he wants to run away with the king, and he also vacate the f8 square for the rook. Very, very deep move. In a blitz chess game, Carlsen thought about like 10 seconds for this move. King e8, h4. Here, Pragg thought that, okay, it will be late if I just play rook g1 and then h4. He goes with h4, and Carlsen takes the pawn. He plays rook g1, and now knight takes f2. A very, very sharp tactical battle right now. Queen e2, but computer says that black is better, but our human understanding says that, okay, this knight has nowhere to go, and secondly, all of white pieces are developed. What is this rook on a8 is doing? What is this knight on d8 is doing? So white should be completely winning, but it's not the case. And rook f8, we can now realize what a move it was, this king e8, because now rook f8 exists, and it can attack this knight and probably surviving this knight. He plays rook g3 to be able to capture this knight, but now comes g takes h4. g4 was also possible. It's a very, very wild game. It's those kind of games that Mikhail Tal would have loved to play. Knight takes h4, and now it's a very interesting position. Bishop f6 was a good move in this position. This knight is still trapped. Rook f3 is coming. Rook one is coming. This is why bishop f3 is a good move to put some pressure, but Carlsen had another thing in his mind to play. Bishop takes d4 to protect the knight and to win another pawn, and this bishop is now a monster. But now Pragg has a winning idea, which is somehow hard to spot. You can stop the video and see if you can find it. The move is quite obvious, knight b5, but one thinks that here, okay, bishop to b6, defending the pawn and running away with the bishop. But now the idea is this very strong move, knight takes c7 check, and after bishop takes c7, queen to b5 check, and suddenly the king has nowhere to go. Knight c6 is a forced move, and after queen takes b7, it's still not finished. King d7 exists in this position. The rook, the bishop, the knight are hanging, but king d7 will protect all of them. But now rook c8, how are you going to defend these very strong attacks on your king? So white is completely winning, but Pragg missed this and he played rook to f3. Now Carlsen goes queen g7. Now Pragg plays knight b5, rook takes f3. Carlsen here realized that if he plays bishop b6, now knight takes c7 exists, so he decides to take on f3. It's a very, very crazy chess position. Rook takes f3, knight takes f3, bishop b6, and this is what Carlsen loves to play. He loves to play this kind of strange positions. In this position, knight takes c7, by the way, was better, and now knight takes e6, attacking the queen, attacking this one, and if you take back, there is just simple queen takes e6. But because Pragg had a very, very little time on his clock, he missed this idea and he just took on f3. He thought that, okay, this is hanging, and if he goes back, I have some ideas, but from now on, you cannot take on c7, because after taking queen here, he has king f7 and he can run away. So in this position, after bishop b6, he plays bishop e3. Once again, he wants to take on b6 and then taking on c7. Bishop takes e6, e3. Now, once again, knight takes c7 and then knight takes a very hard choice. Pragg plays this, and suddenly this move comes. Knight g4, attacking the queen, and after queen e4, king d7. The king safeguards everything, and the king is safe because of this pawn protection, and the pawns are safe because of the king protection. Everything is defended, and black is a lot of pawns up. I guess it's 4 pawns up for black, and if he managed to bring this rook into the game is over. Knight to d4, attacking this guy, queen to e5. If you take the knight, then the rook is hanging, so you cannot. Queen h1. Of course, white cannot trade because he's 4 pawns down. Queen h1, queen d5. Black is insisting on the trades. Queen g1 and h5. One of these pawns decides to march to the queening square. And now knight to c3, queen c4, knight to b3, and black brings the knight into the game. Rook e4, queen to a6. Still, black is not managed to organize all of his pieces. Knight a4, some threats, you should be careful. And Carlsen plays knight, queen b5, which is not the best move. b6 was better, queen b5, and here Pragg comes with a check, take, and another check. And suddenly there is some kind of attack. a4, queen to b6, and rook f4. Here rook takes e6 was better. Black is winning, but it's hard to find all of the best moves in this position. Rook f4, but knight d8. Once again, this knight decides to protect the king. Rook f8, queen to d6, b4, and pawn to b6. Black is threatening to take the knight. Queen g2, attacking this guy, but now c6, a very, very bad decision by Magnus Carlsen. In this position, he should have played queen d5, and the game is over. But he plays c6, and here white has a very, very simple tactic. He can take on d8. Queen takes d8 does not exist because of queen c6, rook, and if you go here, it's checkmate. So you cannot play like that. So you have to take with the king, and now your queen is hanging. I mean, this is a very, 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 very strange chess position. And the computer evaluation is like 0 zeros, but who knows what's going to happen after this. Carlsen made a mistake. He played, but Pragg didn't realize it. Of course, Pragg had only 1 second, near to 2 seconds, and it's very hard to play, even is to move your pieces in this kind of situation. So, and he didn't know what Carlsen is going to play. He can play here, he can play a check, whatever, he can play whatever. c6, knight d3, and now king c7. Black is running once again, rook c8. And now black is defending his position. He managed to trade. Now he's a piece up. The queen is guarding the knight. Takes, 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 takes. And king to b6. Once again, the king is guarding the knight in this game. Magnus Carlsen pieces guarding each other very well. Queen check, c5, and now Pragg is just continuing because of the time trouble. But at the end of the day, Magnus Carlsen is going to checkmate him. Queen b2 is coming, and there is no defense. You can sacrifice your queen, but after that, you're going to be checkmated. A very, very wild chess game. This is what probably Magnus Carlsen wants to happen at the chessboard. Fire on the board, lots of tactics, lots of blunders, lots of excitement. And there is no theory, no rational chess position. There is no pattern recognition. There are some pattern recognitions, but mostly in these games, you are going to think by yourself, and the result is like this. Even the best in the world are going to make a lot of mistakes in positions which they don't know. I hope you enjoyed this video. Magnus Carlsen at the end of this tournament went on to win the tournament by 9.5. Because of winning this important game, he won the tournament. He won $1,000, and of course a very, very interesting game against Praggnanandhaa. I hope you enjoyed this video. If this is the case, please like and write down in comments, and you can answer the question from the beginning of this video, that what's the reason that Magnus Carlsen plays this kind of nonsense opening moves. Is it to disrespect? Is it because of one of those reasons that I told you? Okay, that's it. Enjoy chess and life.